There will be no electronics, at least where I work. As I throw back to the days of Cronkite and Murrow, or heck, even a young Wilser Cavaris. I'm trying to understand why everyone from lawyers to pharmacists to millennials and even young girls
I'm gonna start writing.
are tossing decades of technology out the window for this. We'll start this story here.
You got people that just use typewriters that have been my customers for 30, 40 years.
At McDavid Typewriter Service on Plymouth Street in Murray Hill, where Bill Pridgeon has been repairing typewriters since years before Apple rolled out its first computer. In the age of computers, why are they still using typewriters?
There's certain things that you can't type on a computer, like forms and things of this sort.
His links to the pulse of the nation and the world were well before now throughout his life. Like in the mid-70s, when he was one of the only economists in the country to predict a recession. Before that, he's saying we cannot win in Vietnam because he knew Ho Chi Minh, the former president of that country. Before that, he's touring concentration camps with Eisenhower. But perhaps his most prophetic words came in a newspaper he was writing in on campus as a teenager back in the 30s, before World War II, when he wrote this phrase: "A new world war is almost unavoidable with Hitler in power." Around the time Skinnerd first crooned about Freebird, vinyl was king. But then years later, when MC Hammer told you,
"You can't touch this,"
the black grooves gave way to something silver and a lot more compact.
and I feel heavy.
And as the years went on, churning through MP3s and Pandora,
Hey, baby, won't you look my way?
there came an ironic musical twist of fate. Like a black vinyl phoenix rising from the ashes. Records have come full circle.
11 million sales, and 20 million sales, and 40 million. Every year it went up over 100%.
So our story starts here,
So how'd I start it?
in a flea market on Beach Boulevard.
I was really surprised that a bunch of 16-year-olds were like fantasizing, going crazy over, oh, you got records and you got a turntable. I mean, 50s, 60s is kind of his mentality.
Where William Bruick, whose dad used to run a record shop on the South Side,
There's different bays here.
saw opportunity.
So I had one bay, then 2 bays, then expanded to 3. Then I was able to basically quit my full-time job and have this as my full-time job.
Inside the makeshift store,
The only one I'd be interested in is this.
under the fluorescent light of yesterday and today records,
This record plays from the inside out.
Bruick sells a lot of black.
Let's take you back to 1898, long before we were born. Cubans were fighting for their independence from Spain, and our military sent the USS Maine to Havana to help. Then, disaster. The ship exploded and 266 American sailors died. The cause still debated, but the U.S. government blamed Spain, and the war began.
When you think of the Spanish-American War, most people think of Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Roosevelt or the sinking of the Maine in Havana Harbor. But right here in Jacksonville, we have a piece of that history.
The Army sent troops to the River City, a port where they'd ship southward. Camp Cuba Libre was born in what's now Springfield.
So they were worried about the Spanish invading Jacksonville through the St. Johns River, through the mouth of the river here.
That is correct.
So they built a fort on St. John's Bluff, a concrete battery with powerful protection and a spectacular view.
Any ship coming down this river, these cannons could have blown them right out of the water.
But the Spanish never invaded, and the war ended within 3 months. The fortress was soon abandoned.
Let's be careful, a bit of a climb.
Yeah,
Most people in North Florida have no idea, but this piece of history remains behind this fence and up this trail on private property near Fort Caroline.
This is where they would have stored the gunpowder and the shells that they would eventually bring up to load the cannons.
Amazingly, it's mostly intact. The 4-foot thick concrete walls and this underground bunker still stand today. But 118 years later, these barracks are in their biggest battle yet, in danger of being destroyed.
They go inside, and during this test, it's hot in there. And about 1,000 degrees near the ceiling, inside the burn house at the Fire Academy of the South's training facility on Jacksonville's south side. It's where local firefighters practice their skills.
Hotter goes up, and that heat starts cranking down.
Once back outside, Jeff and Bill take off their borrowed gear and wipe their necks. You can see the dirt that seeped through the traditional hood on the left that Bill wore. On the right, the particulate hood Jeff wore stopped more of the dark contaminants from getting through to his skin. So they started a nonprofit group, Hoods for Heroes, based in Clay County. The problem? The cost of the hoods. The two tell me the standard issue hood can cost from $15 to $30 each. We found different types of the chemical blocking particulate hoods can cost as much as $125 each.
These are a list of the liens filed by the city that date back to 2008 for the work that it's done. They total more than $8,600. The owner also still owes more than $3,000 in unpaid taxes. The city says it's investigated 40 code enforcement cases on this property.
Motivational coaches were in 7 Duval County schools. But at the end of the 2018 school year, only 2 schools still have the program. There's only one MCUSA coach in St. Johns County at Sebastian Middle School. And in Clay County, coaches are assigned to Orange Park Junior High School, Wilkinson Junior High, and Green Cove Springs Junior High.